Welcome back to the Daily Move. This is a quick 20-minute routine to just get everything moving, especially if you've been stiff from camping or adventuring over the weekend. First, we're going to start in any position. You can be kneeling or standing, but what we're doing is full circles of the wrist. Going nice and slow, feeling where those sticky points are on the wrist. Once you've done 5 or 6 in one direction, you're going to switch directions. Again, making the circle at the wrist joint, trying to keep your hands as still as possible as you're making this motion happen. Once you've done 6 in either direction, you can just go back and forth, doing alternating circles. You can try doing your right hand in one circle, your left hand in the other. You can try flexing and extending the wrist, where you just point your wrist down and back up. Working in wherever it feels super tight in those wrists. Okay, shake out those wrists. We're going to move on to the shoulders. So you're going to take your arms out like a T, out to the sides with your thumbs up. Very slowly, you're going to start rotating so that your thumbs start facing the ground. Making sure that the shoulders don't roll at all. Don't do that. Make sure your shoulders stay down, and you're just turning so that your thumbs face down. And then you're going to rotate so the thumbs go back. Going back and forth here. Going nice and slow. And what you're looking for is your arm bone, your humerus bone, is what's creating that rotation and that shoulder socket. It's not just your shoulder blades rounding forward. Now, as you do this, I'm trying to separate my arms, so I'm trying to reach both of my middle fingers as far away from each other as possible. Keeping a nice tall spine. Give your shoulders a couple rolls here. Now we're going to go on to our hands and our legs in a tabletop position. So I prefer it for my middle fingers to face away from my body, but you can put it either out to the side or have the fingers face your butt. And you're going to lift up into a bridge here. So what you're going to do here is just play around with the motion. You should feel this into the shoulders. So I like to go up into this tabletop position, but I will also start sliding my knees forward over top of my toes to start feeling a deeper stretch into where that bicep inserts. Go slow with this, as your wrists may not be fully awake yet. So next we're going to flip onto our hands and knees here, and we're going to go into a downward dog. And what we're doing here is just cycling the legs. So bending one leg, straightening the other. Again, going at your own pace. Just whatever feels good. We're just kind of letting the body loosen up from all the activities over the weekend. So next what we're gonna do is we're gonna have our arms outstretched. And you'll notice my bum doesn't go back into a child's pose. It actually stays over top of my knees. And I press my chest down towards the floor, feeling a nice release in that upper back. So next what we're gonna do is go more into that child's pose position. And now we're strengthening the back by lifting those arms off the ground. You want to hold for 3 to 5 seconds before lowering those arms back down to the ground. And we're going to repeat this 3 to 5 times here, lifting up those arms, having a nice strong back to be able to bring those arms up towards the ceiling. Make sure you're not holding your breath, that you're breathing through this entire time. And once you finish between 3 to 5 repetitions of lifting those arms, go back to that stretch where your hips are back over top of your knees and you're letting your chest fall to the ground. Nice deep breaths here. So next we're going to go back into that downward dog position, but it's okay to bend the knees here. And again, we're allowing our chest to sink down towards our knees. Coming back out of the position and then pushing back. Feeling a nice stretch along your back. It's a good time to let all the tension away from your neck go. It's okay to do a couple nods, yeses and nos. And now we're going to go into that seal position where we drop the hips down towards the ground, creating that spinal extension. And again, moving in and out of this pose, how you feel fit. Never forcing anything, listening to your body, and using that breath to release the tension. Next, you're going to sit on your butt and we're going to windshield wiper the legs. So you're allowing both knees to fall to one side. Pick them up and then rotate, let them fall to the opposite side. So to make it easier on yourself, you can lean back, have your hands supporting you. To make this more challenging, you can sit upright and do these windshield wipers without using your arms. This is one of my favorite things to do, especially after biking. I find it just allows those hips to slowly rotate in those hip sockets to start getting them to release. So we're going to do a few more here, but we are going to need some blocks. Something to raise you up, especially if you're stiff and tight like myself. So we're going into a hip flexor stretch here. So you're nice and tall, tucking that hip under, feeling a good stretch into that hip flexor, of the leg that's behind. Again, breathing into that tension. Next, we're going to lean forward, going into a deeper stretch here, pushing that front knee over top of the toe. Reach your hands down to the floor if you can, and if not, just have those 2 risers. So now we're going to go into a modified pigeon stretch here. So I've actually put my leg up onto that block that I had in my hand. And then I'm just bowing towards my knees and coming back up. And I'm feeling this in the glute of the leg that's in front. Now that block is completely optional. Pillow also works. And if you have more flexibility than me, a lot of people can just go straight down onto the ground. So usually after holding this position for a little while, I can eventually get to the floor. So I just remove the block there to get a deeper stretch. The main point of these mobility practices isn't to look a certain way. It's always to respect what your body is showing you. Our bodies are amazing. Just look at all the adventures you've done this weekend that it allowed us to do. All right, we're switching sides here, starting with that hip flexor stretch again, staying up nice and tall, breathing through that tension that we feel. Then you're gonna sink into that deep lunge. And next you're gonna go into that modified pigeon pose. Again, you can go straight to the floor or you can prop up that knee. It's so important that when we use our bodies for fun things, that afterwards that we do the care, we do the mobility work so that we can recover and have healthy bodies, healthy joints, healthy muscles, so that we can continue doing all the fun things that we enjoy. It's the same thing while in this pigeon pose. You can just hang out, or you can do what I'm doing here and bowing over top of that knee, feeling a little bit of a deeper stretch and slowly coming out of it. And if you can get rid of that prop underneath that knee. Our breathing is so powerful. Make sure to use your breath to help ease that tension. So next we're going to go into a wide standing stance. You're going to push your hips backwards so that your hands start falling down towards the floor. You're going to stand back up and slowly repeat that again. Going back and forth here. And let gravity do all the work here. So now you're going to reach for your ankles here, and you're going to pull your ankles up for just a deeper stretch here. Make sure to breathe, and this is a great time to let that neck go heavy. We're going to need those blocks again. We're going to go into a lunge position. And what we're going to do is with that back leg, we're going to use our strong hamstrings to bring the heel closer to our glute and slowly let it go. So next we're gonna lean our hips back, have that leg in front go straight. You're gonna hip hinge over top of that, feeling a good stretch into the hamstring. We're gonna switch legs here and we're gonna repeat that again. Squeezing the hamstring, allowing that heel to come close to our glute and controlling it on the way down. Next, we're going to perform that hip hinge, feeling a good stretch into that hamstring of the front leg. So now you're going to raise up into that lunge and you're going to sink down towards the ground and come back up, feeling the strength of those legs. Make sure your spine is nice and tall for this. Now you're going to sink and feel a little bit of a stretch into that hip flexor of the leg that's behind. And now we're going to switch legs, doing the same thing, those nice strong pulses, feeling the strength of both legs. And on that last repetition, just hanging out in a little bit of a stretch here, feeling that hip flexor of the back leg. So now what we're going to do is a quad stretch. So going back into that kneeling position, you're going to grab onto where your shoelaces would be. What I'm doing here is I'm doing mini pulses going forward, feeling that stretch into the quad, and then relaxing out. Again, up to you. You can just stay in a static position here or be a little bit more dynamic. You're going to do the same thing with the opposite leg now. Now, if you find this too intense to be on the knee, you can always put padding underneath it, or you can do this stretch side lying as well, where your knees are together, and then you're going to grab that top leg just by the shoelaces again, squeezing the glutes, pushing the quad forward to feel a stretch in the front part of your thigh. So next, all we're going to do is just a forward fold here. And again, you can stay in a static position, or you can do what I'm doing here where I lift up a little bit and then relax. Now my hands are around my ankles and I'm pulling my ankles up and getting my chest to sink down closer towards the thighs. Let the head go heavy here, just let it hang. So next what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into a kneeling position. If you want, you can have the blocks back there. It becomes an easy target for your hands as you lean back. You could also go for your heels or down towards the floor, depending on your mobility. Now be careful with this. This requires a lot of quad strength as you start leaning back here. So start with baby motions and work your way down. So next, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go all the way down onto your elbows, or even have your back lying flat on the ground here, feeling a nice stretch into the quads. Again, if this is too intense, you can either do a standing quad stretch or a side laying quad stretch, or you can try being in this position with one leg outstretched, so one leg straight and the other one bent. So next we're gonna work on our neck here. So whatever feels good, wherever it feels sticky, I want you to choose that. You can do neck rolls. You can rotate your neck like you're saying no or yes. You can side bend your neck, dropping your ear down to one shoulder, feeling a nice stretch on the side. Wherever you feel like your neck gets tight. I know after a weekend of car camping, my neck always gets tight. So we're going to go from our neck down to our ankle. And what I'm doing here is I'm using my elbow and the weight of my upper body to push my knee over top of my toes, making sure my heel stays down on the ground, feeling a nice stretch into the calf there. Again, respecting the range. And you're going to repeat the same thing onto the opposite side here. This is one of my favorite things to do after a weekend of hiking, as those calves seem to do a lot of work. So to finish today's series off, I'm just going to sit on my butt here, and like we started with our wrist circles, we're going to finish off with our ankle circles. So I'm doing the same thing where I'm creating big circles, exploring the full range of motion, making sure to go both directions. And same thing with the wrists, so you can go on alternating motions, you can point and flex, invert, evert, anything that feels good on those ankles and improves those mobility. Thank you so much for following along. I really appreciate you guys supporting my channel. If you enjoyed today's workout and you had a great adventure over the weekend, make sure to hit the likes button and make sure to share this video with your other hiking and adventuring friends. Have a wonderful day. Bye.